Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly, reporting tonight from Hofstra University, Long Island, New York. And you can tell we have, it's like the NFL out here, all right? Clinton versus Trump, I think that's what we're doing on the debate stage, and that is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. Let's set it up for you. 90-minute debate, 6 15-minute segments. Should get underway about an hour. The 3 general topics tonight: America's direction, achieving prosperity, securing America. Obviously, those are very general topics, so anything can happen. You can say anything in those topics. Now, Hillary Clinton won the coin toss, so Lester Holt's first question will go to her. The same question will then be asked Donald Trump. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer the initial question, and the other candidate will have 2 minutes to respond. So it's a back and forth. There will be no opening or closing statements. So I like the format. I kind of think that it might take Lester Holt out of things, but if a candidate does not tell the truth, the other candidate, it's up to him or her to call him out, because Holt really can't interrupt while Trump and Clinton are speaking. So that's the format here. I predict a bit of chaos with the back and forth, and that might be very entertaining, so bring it on. Hillary Clinton does have the advantage this evening. She has done these one-on-one debates before, most notably with Barack Obama. Mr. Trump has had debate experience only with a bunch of other people on a stage. It's a lot more difficult one-on-one. Also, Hillary Clinton's much more versed in policy. She can razzle-dazzle with facts and figures. Donald Trump is more of a generalist, big-picture guy. So when it comes to specifics, you can expect more from Hillary Clinton on that front. But Talking Points believes it might not matter very much because demeanor, the way the candidates handle themselves, will be what many Americans are watching. For example, it would be unwise for Donald Trump to make faces, as he sometimes did in the Republican debates. Remember that? Also, be a major mistake for Mrs. Clinton to sound shrill or to call Trump names. That would erode her status as a public figure. Both candidates have been heavily coached and will come armed with one-liners, but they better be cautious. As we saw over the weekend after the Clinton campaign invited Mark Cuban to sit in the front row just to tweak Trump, Trump responded with an alleged invitation to Jennifer Flowers. So right away, the presidential debate got into the World Wrestling Federation mode. Fortunately, Ms. Flowers will not be attending this evening, so the circus is on hold for a moment, except for the people in the back. And yes, Hillary Clinton did start that. There's no doubt about it. But again, Americans want authoritative problem solvers, not foolish game players. The demeanor factor, extremely important in this debate tonight. In 1960, then Vice President Richard Nixon basically lost the election because he looked bad at the debate, dour, sweaty, tense. By contrast, the young senator from Massachusetts, John F. Kennedy, whom Americans really didn't know back then, came across as vibrant and very human. And that was it for Nixon. Although the election was close, Nixon, of course, won the presidency 8 years later, but he should have won in 1960. And then there are the one-liners.
I will not make age an issue of this campaign. I am not going to exploit for political purposes my opponent's youth and inexperience.
That witty line turned things around for Ronald Reagan, who had lost the first debate to Walter Mondale, but made a comeback in the second thanks to that line. From then on, there was no stopping President Reagan's re-election campaign in 1984. In 1988, there was a vice presidential debate between Dan Quayle and Senator Lloyd Bentsen, a Democrat.
I have as much experience in the Congress as Jack Kennedy did when he sought the presidency.
Senator, I served with Jack Kennedy. I knew Jack Kennedy. Jack Kennedy was a friend of mine. Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy.
Now, that line was not enough to elect Bentsen's running mate, Michael Dukakis. Why? Because the governor himself blew it.
Governor, if Kitty Dukakis were raped and murdered, would you favor an irrevocable death penalty for the killer?
No, I don't, Bernard, and I think you know that I've opposed the death penalty during all of my life.
That answer from Dukakis painted him as insensitive to his own wife and hurt him dramatically. Finally, if presidential candidates get their facts wrong in a big debate, they've got trouble.
Mr. President, I'd like to explore a little more deeply our relationship with the Russians. Our allies in France and Italy are now flirting with communism.
There is no Soviet domination
of Eastern Europe, and there never will be under a Ford administration.
Now, that blunder by President Ford pretty much gave the election to Jimmy Carter in 1976. So back to tonight. The polls pretty much a dead heat going into the big show. It's kind of shocking because many pundits believe Hillary Clinton would easily roll over Donald Trump. If Mr. Trump stands his ground tonight, looks presidential, as they said, Senator Clinton could be in major trouble. I was in Colorado over the weekend, and polls there say the race is tied. If Colorado goes for Trump, he's the next president. Same thing in states like Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. On Friday, we told you that North Carolina will now go to Trump because of all the social unrest. Social disorder always drives voters to the more authoritarian candidate. So finally, what's my prediction? As Mr. T once said in a Rocky movie, pain. Both candidates, no matter what they do, will get smashed by the opposition. No matter how good Donald Trump performs, press will say he blew it. No matter how astute Hillary Clinton may be, those who dislike her will continue to dislike her. It's not like everybody or anybody will be going to Disney World after this. And that's a memo. Now for the top story tonight, reaction. Joining us from Washington, Charles Krauthammer. So Krauthammer, I'm not making any football predictions, but I'm going to ask for your prediction for the evening. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, we'll know in 2 hours, so it's a bit of a odd question, but if I had to bet the house, I would say that the candidate with the lowest bar usually wins unless there's a big gaffe, like the Ford gaffe. In the absence of that, I think Trump has a better chance of coming out ahead, but I think it's also not likely that this will be a knockout blow. This is a thematic debate. This is not, I don't think, is going to hinge on one or two lines. I think what Trump has to do is to show that you could see him sitting in the Oval Office. You could see him as a responsible president making decisions that are very serious and dangerous. If he gives that impression, and it's all about impression, he's won the debate. That doesn't mean he wins the presidency, but it means he clears the basic hurdle that an outsider has, the kind Reagan had in 1980 when he showed he wasn't a crazy right-wing Dr. Strangelove.
Right, but Reagan had, a pretty good record of accomplishment in California. Trump doesn't have that. And then I want to go back to you. You said the low bar. What you mean, I think, is that because expectations aren't that high for Donald Trump, if he exceeds, if he does a little bit better, then he comes out the winner, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I'm glad you got it.
Okay. And it isn't easy because I am dealing with a lot of ambient sound out here, but I'm still right on it, man. I am still right on it.
So you've also told me that you're a simple man, so I just had to make it simple.
Yeah, I mean, I am a simple man, so nothing really affects me. If you were coaching Hillary Clinton tonight, opening, she's going to get asked a general question by Holt.
Yeah.
What would you, all right, so you got to come out. First impressions mean a lot. You tell her to do what?
Look, I mean, her job, obviously, is to change an impression that has embedded itself in the national consciousness for 30 years. And the one that she sort of exacerbated, the element of it that she has made infinitely worse this year with the emails, is that she is not honest and trustworthy. Now, you can't change that overnight. You're not going to change it in one debate. But if you go back to 2008, when Barack Obama said of her, well, you're likable enough. If she makes herself likable enough, she can win this election. It's that people just don't like her. I think she represents, in terms of the political orientation, in terms of her experience, in terms of just people trusting her judgment in a crisis, she's got all the advantages. She has to somehow soften the image.
She's
got two
choices. Self-deprecating?
Yeah, I think that's very, very important to do something like that. And to show yourself to be human. Look, when did she make her comeback in 2008? When she shed a tear in New Hampshire. I'm not sure it was a fake tear. It could have been very sincere. She needs to show that she can be liked. People could have her in their living room for 4 years. There's a way to do it.
Okay.
If she doesn't shout and she doesn't get angry, I think she's got a good chance of doing something like that.
All right, but Trump may make her cry. I mean, that could happen, and anything could happen. Now, Charles and I are going to play a little one-upsmanship when we come back. I'm going to put forth questions I would ask, and then Charles is going to try to top those questions. So stick with that. And later we'll have Hume and Dr. Austin Goolsbee. Factors coming right back from Long Island. Continuing now with Charles Krauthammer, who's in Washington. So if I'm moderating the debate, I open on this with Hillary Clinton because she won a coin toss. I'd say, Madam Secretary, 66% of the American people, according to a Gallup poll, feel the country's headed in the wrong direction, hell in a handbasket. President Obama has been our leader for 8 years. You're going to run your administration pretty much the way he does. How do you reconcile that fact? Decent question?
Very good question. I would go, and I would do this for the two candidates, with a sort of challenging personality question rather than a factual one. I would say to her, you've been involved in major decisions in foreign policy while you were Secretary of State. Is there one in particular, and I would say Libya as an example, where we ended up with dead Americans, ended up with chaos, and ended up with establishing branches of ISIS in Libya? Would you say that you regret that decision, and would you refrain from doing things like that in your administration?
Okay, it's a little general. She might be able to weave. My questioning is going to be real, like micro questioning. For the example, to Trump, I would say, Vladimir Putin has done boom, 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 boom. How can you possibly not condemn him? That kind of thing.
Yeah, and I would go differently. I would give him a question, something like this. Shortly after the convention, you said that there are things you've said that you regret. Name one specifically.
That's a good one. I like that one.
And in
How about
short,
this one? To Hillary Clinton, but also Donald Trump. Do you support Colin Kaepernick disrespecting the national anthem? Yes or no, then explain.
Well, disrespecting is a bit of a tip-off. What I think you ought to say, since you and I are in a contest here, you ought to say kneeling and not putting his hand over his heart when the flag is shown. But I'll give you that was a B+. That was fine. Look,
that's a good question because. Go ahead.
No, I mean, let the candidates define the nature of the Kaepernick protest rather than.
But they
the
will. But they have to answer. Look, it's obviously disrespectful what he's doing. There's no doubt about that. If they say it isn't, then they got a lot of explaining to do. And then Hillary Clinton, I don't think she'd answer that question. Trump would answer it in a heartbeat. He'd go, I'd behead him or something. You know, Trump. But to Hillary Clinton, she can't say anything bad about Kaepernick. Why, Charles? Why can't she?
Well, look, it's a tougher one would be, what's your response to the rioting in Charlotte, North Carolina? We've seen some of the video. It is indecisive. What's your message to the people of Charlotte? And you know what Trump is going to say. He's going to do the law and order thing. And with Hillary, she's got two constituencies. She's going to have to thread the needle and tread the line. That would be a quite interesting question, I think.
But you already got asked that question, and she says that, all of this has got to stop. The police shootings have got to stop. What I'm really interested in, we're not going to see it tonight. I'm not trying to put damp water on the debate. But you got to ask them questions where they have to answer yes or no. That's why the Kaepernick question's a killer. Because Hillary Clinton's going to go, yes, I support his disrespect of the flag and the national anthem, and here's why. Or no, I don't think it's the right thing to do. Maybe he does it another way. But either way, she's going to tee people off.
All right. Now, there's one question I think that would help. Is it kind of out of the box? It's a question about knowledge without being a gotcha question. And it's got a bit of a lead in, so give me 20 seconds on this. Margaret Thatcher comes into office. She ends up in a war in the Falkland Islands, a place that nobody has ever heard of, and there are more sheep than people. Didn't expect it. It defined her prime ministership. George W. Bush comes into office, not particularly distinguished in foreign policy. We get hit by 9/11. The wars in the Middle East define his presidency. Where in the world do you think there might be a threat lurking that in your administration would be decisive or defining or very important in your administration? And that will tell you something about how they view the world.
Well, Trump would say Iran, and then Clinton would say North Korea, I would assume.
Well, that's not exactly obscure. What I'm talking about are unexpected events. The Falkland Islands, nobody, do you think the British had any idea they were going to be at war with Argentina? No. So what I'm asking, what you would ask her is, where is something lurking we don't know about now and where something might come?
All right. That's an interesting thing question. You're much smarter than I am, so I want the Kaepernick question.
What would you say?
Charles Brown, everybody. What would I say?
I'll give you 1 week. No. On the unexpected attack,
okay.
I'll give you a week to think about it.
Who, me? What would I say?
Yeah.
I would say there's something going up between Vietnam and China. That's going to happen because of those dopey islands. From Chicago, Dr. Austin Goolsbee, a former member of President Obama's cabinet. So, as a Democrat, I'm appointing you Hillary Clinton's surrogate tonight, and I'm going to ask you some questions. Because I know you're an honest man. You're not going to dodge. You're not going to spit. First question is the one I posed to Dr. Krauthammer. 66% of American people feel the country's going in the wrong direction. You, Hillary Clinton, have pretty much thrown in with President Obama's policy. You haven't repudiated any of them, not one. Okay? How do you square that with the disenchantment?
So I'm supposed to be her, or you're asking my opinion?
No, you're her.
Okay, I'm her. I would say, number one, I've outlined my own program that is different and distinct from what President Obama has outlined. I want the biggest investment in infrastructure jobs since Eisenhower. President Obama did not do that. I want to make education debt-free for millions of Americans. President Obama did not do that. I think on President Obama himself and the right track, wrong track, you have seen in the last 2 years, as the economy has started gaining momentum, those numbers have begun to shift. And actually, 2/3 of Americans say that their own personal situation is improving.
Well, there's a cultural aspect to this, but 66% of people are disenchanted the way the country's going. Why do you think they're disenchanted?
Well, I think we had a terrible financial crisis, and we've
had 30+
years.
Are you going to go all the way back there? You're going to go all the way back there? All the way back to 2008? You're really going to do that?
I was even going to go back farther. I was going to say we've had rising inequality in this country for almost 40 years. So you can see why people are frustrated. And now, as we're turning the corner, it's improving.
All right. Colin Kaepernick, disrespecting the flag and the anthem. Do you support not his right to protest, but the way he's doing it?
What do you mean not his right to protest, but the way he's doing it? Meaning that he's taking a knee, or that he's doing it?
That he's disrespecting the national anthem. You can protest it in many, many ways.
He's taking a knee, or that he's doing it?
That he's disrespecting the national anthem. You can protest it in many, many ways.
Yeah, if it were me, I would say, no, I don't agree with what he's doing. When I hear the national anthem, I stand up, I feel a tingle on the back of my neck, and I put my hand on my heart. And I'm glad
that's what you would
in
say
an environment where there's violent protests taking place in various parts of the country, I'm glad if somebody feels that they want to object, that they do it in a peaceful way, and that we still live in a country where there's freedom of speech and you're allowed to say or think whatever you want.
Are you worried that children are imitating Mr. Kaepernick and losing respect for their country when they really don't know what the complicated issues are? Are you worried about that?
Well, I certainly hope that's not happening. If I were Hillary Clinton, what I would say is I take the American people seriously, and I don't think that they consider the condemnation of either their country or the police or object to the national anthem. I don't think anybody does or should take that kind of thing lightly.
All right, because it is happening with the kids. I'm sure you've seen some of the videos, or maybe not. You're a professor in a classroom, and the kids are out in the field.
Hey, you're a Harvard graduate, so don't start on me.
Well, but I'm a regular guy. I'm not some pinhead college professor.
So am
Come on,
I.
you know how that goes.
So am I.
I'll give you that. All right, doctor. Thanks for being a good sport tonight. We appreciate it very
Yes.
much. Hume Zone segment tonight. Our pal Brett has covered 11 presidential campaigns. Pretty much seen it all, from U.S. Grant right up to the current Clinton-Trump deal. He joins us
So why are you
now.
always bringing up U.S. Grant with me? It's always
Because
U.S.
you were so
Grant.
close. You two were so close, you know?
That make you think
And
of the
I just
Civil
need to-
War? Is that what it is?
Now, you're in some other hidden location here. I'm out with the folks. But I wanted to ask you what I asked Krauthammer and Goolsbee. So you got first shot. You're up. And here's Hillary Clinton. She's got the first question. What do you hit her with right away?
What on earth does stronger together actually mean?
Oh, she can wail on that, though, Hume. She can, you know.
No, I wouldn't.
Well, we all
I
have to
don't
come
know.
together.
She never
and-
has. I mean, here. Yeah, but
that's true.
what answer to that question that you can think of would really advance her cause?
Well,
I
she
mean,
can
my
say, I
sense
want to
about it
bring
is that it's
all
one of these-
Americans together, and we
Yeah.
want to have a big Woodstock moment where we're all
That
there.
doesn't mean that. But Bill,
and-
that's an empty answer.
Well, are you expecting substance tonight, Hume? Are you really?
Well, I'm just saying that that if you ask somebody a question, the challenge is to them to provide a meaningful answer that will make people look at him and say, yeah, that's the person I want to be president, rather than somebody who's just spouting sort of empty cliches.
See, I would go for you didn't know C was classified. Is that? Are you gonna? Really? What'd you think
That's
it
a
was?
good question.
A cat?
Yeah, that's a
You
good
know,
question.
that was a
fair
yeah.
question.
Wow. How about Trump?
Well, she's, you know,
How about Trump?
if I were she would say, well, you know, I looked at that. You often see letters in small lowercase in parenthesis in bodies of text, and they simply mean that you're moving on to another point. It didn't strike me that it meant classified. Some people would believe that.
No, I wouldn't. What about Trump?
I would ask him if he's ever in his life apologized to anybody for anything.
I'm sure he apologized
You know,
to
he-
his mom or something. He could do.
Well, maybe so, but I mean, you know, he's never done it on the camera. He's come out and said he once said he regretted something. That was once in this campaign, and I think he was unfairly criticized in that case for that not being an apology, because I suppose broadly defined an apology is an expression of regret. But it is a question that people have. It seems peculiar that a man who projects such strength would say he, you know, doesn't apologize, never will apologize, almost never has, to our knowledge. To a lot of people who look at somebody who's willing to say they're wrong when they've been wrong, that's associated with strength,
That's
not
good.
weakness. Trump seems to see it the other way around.
You know, he'd say, you know what he'd say to you? He said, I want to apologize to O'Reilly for telling me she see a psychiatrist.
Yeah. Or forever
Remember
going on a
that?
show, you mean? I don't remember that. I must have missed that
No,
somehow.
in
My
Detroit, he was
apologies.
mad at me. Yeah, he was mad at me in Detroit. And no, he never apologized, but that, you know, he might do that. Now, on Trump, you got a lot of places you can go because he's made some dubious statements. I don't know if Lester Holt is going to do that. Do you?
Well, I think, you know, look, I don't know what Lester Holt's going to do. All I can say is that he's the last man on earth I would want to be tonight, because he's in an impossible position.
Right.
As you saw as a result of what happened to Matt Lauer, who I thought was very unfairly criticized for his handling of that whole thing. And the refs have been, you know, the Clinton camp has been working the refs on Lester Holt now for, you know, a week or more, trying to get him to act as the fact checker on Trump. And I guess they're afraid that Trump is going to try to bury the audience in a blizzard of falsehoods against her and in his favor, and that it'll be too much of a job, really, to clean up after him for her. My own view of that is, Bill, that Lester Holt needs to, you know, throw out pointed questions to each, give the other a chance to answer, and basically stay out of it. But on the program I did tonight, Bill, I didn't have real agreement with my two broadcast colleagues about that. There's a lot of disagreement in the media about that. It's kind of become a major controversy.
But the format isn't. He can't interrupt. You got 2 and 2, so he's out of the box. Holt is for 4 minutes before he comes back in with another one.
Well, he can interrupt. I'm sure he has the discretion to interrupt if he wants to. The question is how to do that wisely, and I think it's extremely difficult because you have to figure out, first of all, Bill, what kind of a falsehood or misstatement rises to the level to be worth an interruption that breaks the flow of the debate.
Right.
It seems to me that if you're going to be the kind of an interventionist moderator, that's tough. You got to be careful. And the other thing is you have to be absolutely 100% certain that the assertion you're going to make is correct. And we saw what happened to our colleague Candy Crowley when she, undoubtedly, unintentionally made a mistake in the Romney-Obama debate, and people are still talking about it.
Joining us now to react, Katie Pavlich here with us on Long Island from Washington, Marianne Marsh. So first of all, Marianne, everybody, even in L.A., it's all talking about. It's a presidential debate. But I think it might be overhyped. What do you think?
It's impossible to overhype this debate. Over 100 million people are going to watch it, and the first 15 minutes could determine the rest of this election. So don't underestimate this debate or either one of these candidates and what it means for the next 43 days of this election. It could decide it tonight.
Okay, now if you were Lester, what would the first question you'd ask Trump?
Why do you want to be president of the United States? It's the most important question, the most simple question, but always the most revealing question. Because you want to hear from someone from the bottom of their heart. Why do you want to do this job? It is the question that ended Ted Kennedy's ambitions for the presidency when Roger Mudd asked it, but it's the most personally revealing one. And people, when they vote for president, it's the most personal vote they cast. And I would like to hear that question asked of both of these candidates, because I think it will tell you everything about them, why they're doing this, and what kind of president they would be.
He's going to say, I want to make America great again.
Right.
What would you ask
That's
Hillary
not
Clinton?
the answer.
I would ask,
so right out of the box.
I would ask Hillary Clinton how she plans, if she wins the presidency, to represent those Americans, which there are a lot of them, who believe that she is above the law and that there's a different legal standard for her than there is for them. She has that problem. I think tonight Hillary Clinton is at a disadvantage in the sense that she's been in the Beltway for 30 years, but Donald Trump is new. He's on the outside, but first impressions are everything. And so he has to be
presidential. So you both agree they have to get out of the box strong.
Right.
I would ask Donald Trump. I wouldn't ask him why he wants to be president, because I know what he would say. I want to make America great. We've gone downhill. We're all divided. All the polls say it is disenchantment. I would say to Mr. Trump, why really won't you release your tax returns? Because Americans want to know how you conduct business. Now, that's a really tough one right out of the box, is it not? Tough?
Yeah, no, I agree.
All right, right out of the box.
Yeah, right out of the box.
What do you think, Marianne?
I think it's the right question, but I mean, you could go one step further and say, where's the letter from the IRS that even says you're under audit? I mean, he hasn't even offered that. I think that's a concern.
No, because then you're questioning his honesty. And for Hillary Clinton, I would open up with this. Madam Secretary, ISIS was created by President Obama's mistake of withdrawing U.S. troops from Iraq. All right? Would you agree with that? Yes or no? That's where I'm going on her. Because she was Secretary of State when that happened. You're both so awed by my wisdom.
No, I mean,
nobody
look,
is
Bill,
commenting.
No, look at the position she's in. She was Secretary of State. She may have disagreed with the president. She's not going to admit that because she's not going to betray that confidence.
Oh,
let's see. This is the
she'll
problem.
betray the country, but not the confidence? ISIS is a huge problem.
Right.
She's got to come clean on it, right?
One of the main issues tonight in terms of the debate themes is America's security. And Hillary Clinton's going to have a very hard time walking the line of supporting her work under President Obama, which is, as Trump would say, is a disaster, while also promoting her own plan moving forward without being tied to that foreign policy.
It depends on how astute Trump is. Because remember, it's not Lester throws a question out, but then the candidates get to question each other.
Well, and I think that's an important point.
He's got to be on it.
Well, Trump, didn't do any mock prep. That's fine. But I would hope that his team sat him down to study some of the intricacies of the Middle East and the foreign policy problems we face. Because despite whether Hillary Clinton's record is a bad one on that, she's going to have details to talk about. I mean, he can't have a Gary Johnson, what is Aleppo moment tonight.
I don't think he'll have one of those, but I don't know if he's going to give you a lot of micro. Ladies, thanks very much. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Phil.
And we're ending early because we got to set this debate up, and we have to go to a different part of Hofstra and all of that, okay? Debate's going to begin in about 20 minutes. And on tomorrow's Factor, of course, we'll tell you exactly who won and who lost and why, all right? So, and we got a great line. We're going to bring Krauthammer back. We got a whole bunch of other people that you're going to want to hear from. Now, the Factor tomorrow, and I'm not saying this with any hyperbole, could be the most interesting program of the year. It could be. And I'll be tweeting, by the way, during the debate, just to annoy everyone. I'm going to tweet during the debate. If you want to see that, @O'Reilly Factor, @O'Reilly Factor. And BillO'Reilly.com, I'll have a reaction for you as well all throughout the evening. As always, we thank you for watching The Factor. It's nice of you to do it. I am Bill O'Reilly reporting from my home ground, Long Island. Please always remember that the spin stops here, so we are definitely looking out for you.